Hello and welcome to the OverCope Podcast. This is week five. Five? Five.
5, indeed.
Five. Cool.
1 month
This,
plus.
this is week five. Yeah. I guess this is probably over a month now. Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
A month,
100%
month
it
and
is.
4 days since we first did our first recording. Probably. Yeah. That makes sense. The
Yeah.
maths works out. Anyway. So yeah. This is episode 5. I'm your host, Motor, as always, an Overwatch content creator and streamer and stuff, and I'm joined by Coach Mick NB.
Hello. I do coaching sometimes.
Yeah, he does coaching sometimes. Like, he just ignored my VOD review request the other day.
I was busy. I'm sorry. We'll get around to it.
You replied to other messages though. That was the bit that annoyed me.
Well, so the thing is when I saw it, I had been gone for a while, and then at that point I assumed it was too late. And when I did message you, I assumed you would have immediately said, "Can we do the VOD review?" Which you did not.
That's rude. We're friends
It's not
first. We're friends first.
It is not rude to pursue what you want. That is never gonna be rude.
Agree to disagree in that circumstance. Anyway,
Okay, fair enough.
Any hoozles. We got big news. We're having a little casual chat. We have big news, Mick. We have really big news.
We do.
Well,
Some news that we've been talking about wanting.
Yeah.
So you heard it here first. The Mick and Motor podcast. It doesn't miss. We don't miss.
I mean, we did actually discuss the exact content. I mean, let's just talk about it. Overwatch Champion Series. We talked about the exact format in which they had already discussed, or in which that they are going to be implementing. We'd already had a chat about it.
Yeah.
Let me just search this up. And that format is an open format. That means everybody can become involved. Ooh, I'm looking for an image of it. Yeah. So, do you want to go for the rundown, or I'll do the rundown?
Yeah. I can. So obviously Overwatch League stopped. And we've known that Overwatch League was terminated for a while now. And in the stead of Overwatch League, they've come up with what is essentially kind of the Korean concept of the inaugural season of Apex, which was that one season of Apex where everyone was out, basically. It was not just Korean teams. And it's going to be divided into 3 regions, which is going to be NA, EMEA, so it's going to be Europe, Middle East, and Africa, I think? North Africa, right? And then there's going to be in Asia, Pacific region, right? So APAC, essentially.
It's Asia, EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and North Africa, yeah. And then North America.
Fact checking me there. It's probably a good idea. Could have gotten that wrong. But I got it right.
They didn't. Sorry, just one thing. They didn't actually, in the little graphic that they showed, they did not highlight Australia for Asia, which means that a big part of the region is going to be cut out again, despite how well in this most recent Overwatch League season that Australian contenders team did, Honeypot. They were beating the Asian teams, the Asian contenders teams and stuff. So
I mean, let's definitely talk about that for a second, but let's just, for the uninitiated, get the format out and everything, right?
Yeah.
So it is essentially going to be a regional Swiss bracket with after qualifying from Swiss bracket in regions, you go into a double elimination tournament, which will then decide finalists, and then there is a like playoff tournament style ordeal for the rest, right? Every single season gets the opportunity to do this. Every single region gets the opportunity to do this. Obviously, we've spoken in length in previous podcasts about why this is a good idea. But for the uninitiated, the reason it's good is that it furthers competition by allowing people to have less of a barrier of entrance. there is no such thing as being picked up by an Overwatch League team now and getting signed into a contract. The best organizations will have the best teams, and if you prove yourself at any notice, you can make your way through the teams. You can make yourself a name, which means that we're going to have more names in the pool of pro. There will be more pros, essentially, in the total, right? Where some people were scraping semi-pro slash after pro entry, right? And they could have gone way further, but they were hindered by a system that only really catered to a few individuals.
Yeah.
So that's the good. We can talk a little bit about the regions because there are some concerns about the regions for sure. Maybe you want to go back in on your topic there.
I just want to conclude kind of what you were saying. Because I've got it up in front of me. So the Overwatch contender champion series. Sorry, I'm going to keep calling it contender series. So you just got to ignore me at times.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to call it the World Cup accidentally.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to say you're going to ignore me as well. I was going to say there's no need.
Oh, no.
So, February, Asia do their stage 1 qualifiers, and then in February and March they've got round robin plus LCQ. Not really sure what that means. Anyway, and then for NA and EMEA they followed an identical path the whole way through. So they start stage 1 qualifiers in March, then stage 1 main event in March. In April, stage 2 qualifiers, stage 2 main event, and then in May, Asia, EMEA, and NA have major, which is all 3 regions coming together and playing each other for like a mid-season tournament kind of deal. June and July is a bit of a rest period for all the teams and all the players to, not have to be in competition all the time. August, we go back into stage 3 qualifiers for NA, EMEA, and then stage 3 main event. And then to parallel, Asia do in August stage 2 qualifiers, and then also in August and September round robin LCQ. And then they've got a playoffs plus wild card in September, stage 4 qualifiers in September for NA and EMEA, and then in October is stage 4 main event for NA, EMEA, and Asia have stage 2 main event, and then finally in November to finish off the year, you get finals, which is again all 3 regions come together and they play each other, and we get to crown the Overwatch Champion Series champion for 2024. So basically what they said in the video was they wanted to eliminate these big off seasons that we had, which was we had 6 months of Overwatch League, and then we'd have nothing for 6 months. And it's like, well, we were kind of, this year we had the Overwatch World Cup, which helped bridge the gap a little bit, or would have helped bridge the gap a little bit, but would have still been waiting about 4 or 5 months still for pro esports to come back again. This way we only get 4 months of downtime, so June and July there's nothing, and then December and January there's nothing. But that isn't as much, that's not as bad, seeing as it's split out and there is pretty much always going to be something happening. I'd assume in those 2 months we're probably going to be getting a lot of stuff, like mini tournaments hosted by other people, hopefully. Anyway, and then maybe Overwatch World Cup will happen in one of those slots as well. I'm a massive fan of this change up. Yeah, I
certainly think it's a good idea. Yeah, I do like it. Also, just to clarify real quick, a round robin is a tournament style where every team plays against every team at least once in order to get a standing, and then you usually have a cutoff. That's what a round robin is.
What's an LCQ?
LCQ.
Yeah, round robin plus LCQ.
It's something qualifier, I think.
So those
last chance qualifier.
Last chance qualifier. Playoffs plus wild cards. So the wild cards must be the people who got the last chance qualifiers, and then you get stage 1 main event. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
To anybody who is listening, I will have an image up, so you guys didn't just have to listen to me talk you through this entire format. There will be an image, so good
Yes,
look at the image as well.
it'll make sense. It'll make sense.
Yeah.
I think was there anything else like really to talk about? I do have some concerns of the regional regime myself. I do that. There's a couple of quirks that I want to mention real quick that definitely can talk about. You did already mention a little bit, so if you want to like pick that up from where you left it.
Yeah. So I was immediately shattered hearing that EMEA was all going to be grouped together and then they concluded with Asia. So we've not got any South America representation, unfortunately. Which I'm not saying, they've necessarily always been a big part of Overwatch esports, but not having it at all, like completely cut out, basically means that there is absolutely no chance that it's going to come round. So we're probably not going to get any South American teams playing unless some of them are willing to play on massive ping in NA before they get shipped out to the LAN events. And Australia is not included in the Asia region in the graphic that they showed. So again, they'll probably have to play on high ping if they want to even have a chance at qualifying for any sort of LAN event. And what we had for contenders was contenders Australia, or like Australasia or something, or Oceania, sorry, is what it actually should be, which is Australia and all the surrounding islands. There is going to be potentially quite a big there's not enough regions for me personally. There's just not enough regions, and it means that some places are going to get underrepresented. I mean, Europe, Middle East and North Africa is like a big place as well. So like if we get a British based team and then they have to play somebody from Saudi Arabia, everybody's going to be playing on ping. How does that work? Because if one team is all based in London and then the other team is all based in Saudi Arabia, I don't know any Saudi Arabian cities.
I do believe it works on average minimum ping.
Yeah, I was
that's
about to say.
what they do, which is terrible, by the way. Just to be clear, that is still terrible because it levels out the disadvantage for the team that has the most ping, but it by far does not, like, they're still disadvantaged.
Yeah.
It shortens the gap a little bit by having a minimum ping, an average minimum ping. So yeah.
The only saving grace here in this scenario, though, is that without franchising, it's not going to be like contenders, where they were very much limited. Like contenders players probably still had jobs or lived with parents who could support them financially to be able to do what they wanted to do, and were making limited money. If they were winning, if you were losing in contenders before, I don't think you made anything. So
potential brand deals and
yeah, maybe you made a bit of sponsorship money. Now though, because it's open again, like Valorant, where you'll have like a big company like Fnatic will buy in. Well, Fnatic give services. They'll give homes and they'll get gyms and they'll be supplying food. So the big teams will still be afforded these things. So there is a chance that a lot of them decide to convene in like Berlin. So like a lot of the teams just get housing in Berlin or something if they decide that's going to be the hub for the EMEA teams. And then like maybe all the Asian teams decide that the hub is going to be Seoul and Dallas in North America, I'd assume. Those are all the big cities for esports. So maybe the big brands will get a lot of the teams together in places, but we could still very much be looking at like some teams are playing off ping, and in my opinion there should be more regions to give a chance to everybody, because right now it feels like it's going to be a big struggle if you're all the way in Saudi Arabia or all the way in South America or all the way in Australia. You're not going to have a great time in this, and that does cut talent, which has always been the main thing for both of us. That was the main thing that we talked about last time, is you lose out on so much talent with the Overwatch League, and now we might be losing out on like everybody in Australia and South America, and obviously China. I don't know how that's going to work either, which I'm guessing was going to be your point.
No. So my point was not even going to be. My point was just going to be that people from Africa is going to suffer from ping heavily. And it's going to be it's a dual edged thing, right? Because there are obviously certain things you can do within like the European like region, which is I'm going to be speaking of the European area because that's what I'm most familiar with. I have a little bit of NA experience. I obviously have no APAC experience at all. So essentially, what will happen is probably something like a minimum average ping limiter within lobby settings, and also we're going to find the midmost server between the two teams, right? That doesn't fix the issue. What I will say real quickly though is there is an argument to be made, like, are there enough American team, or not American, African teams to have it be their own region?
No. But
so what I'm saying is, like, how small can a region be? Because I don't know that your solution is the obvious solution. But you have to remember that something has to qualify for every region. So are we taking like a very tiny region, getting perhaps one team out of it, and that's a lot of extra work for one region to potentially be in the final thing. Especially since not to be rude to anyone, but the Australian and the African region probably is not going all the way. At least not yet.
Okay, that's the important bit though. Yeah. They've never been given the chance to really be able to push for it, which is the issue.
What would you do? Would you couple up? I don't even know what.
I've got a solution.
Is there a massive ping issue with Africa and Australia together? Like, would that be massive?
Yeah, too big.
Too big?
Too big.
I mean, Africa. Yeah, there's kind of
a
big
massive
distance,
ocean between.
Australia. Yeah, Australia's just gonna have big ping to everything, doesn't it?
So, like I said,
how does Australia even game? How do you game in Australia?
You play other Australians.
Yeah, fair. Fair. It's just fair. It's just I just realized you don't really have any other region. Like America, you're gonna have massive ping. EU, you're gonna have quite big ping. Interesting. Okay, yeah. APAC.
So, yeah. The system again. I love football. Soccer. I love football. So I always go back to the football argument. Which is the way that it works. So the Champions League. Okay, the Champions League is an international tournament. For all European teams. So the way that they decide that is, well, we want to take the best teams from every league. We can't have every single team from every league competing. So what they basically decided was, well, just when they first started, the eye test was, well, England, Italy, Spain, and Germany have the best football. So we'll have 4 of those teams from each. I'm just going to pick out random numbers now. We're going to have four teams from each of those countries, and then we'll just have like 1 or 2 from every other country. That should be, to me, the way that we do it. Maybe, yeah, South America, Africa, and Australia. I don't know where Middle East fits into this idea just yet. I
think Middle East has fine ping with the general, like, European, like.
It's not atrocious. Yeah, it's probably all right.
I've had morning games in Overwatch on Middle Eastern servers, just because I knew every single one was Middle Eastern. They were all speaking Arabian, and yeah. So I've been connected to those servers, and I only have like 80 milliseconds. Like, I'm not saying 80 milliseconds is perfect, but I'm saying 80 milliseconds is within the realms of plausible, right? Like, that's okay.
Yeah, but my suggestion was going to be. We say, well, we know North America, Europe, and Asia. They're gonna be the big boys, aren't they? Like, they are gonna be the big boys of this whole system. So we're gonna say, again, I'm just gonna pull random numbers out right now, but we just say like 4 from North America, 4 from Europe, 6 from Asia, probably 6 from Asia, and then we go South America, Africa and Australia, you guys get one each. You guys get one slot each. So the best team from each of you guys can come compete and have a go. That way, yeah, it's not perfect, but then if they start to perform, we can change it, because that's how the Champions League works as well. So for a while, England lost extra slots. They only had 3 teams that could qualify for the Champions League, but then now, because England have started performing well again in their tournament, the English League have been given an additional slot to then, well, they'll say, well, they've won it like 4 years in a row, so we'll give them an extra slot now, because they obviously are doing well enough to deserve it. There's clearly a high enough standard there where we should bring another slot in. So, if you say, if we do it like that, that gives an opportunity for the other regions. So like, if one Australian team is like consistently making it, if the one Australian team is consistently making it to semi-finals, then you go, well, maybe we give them a second team, because North America's underperforming quite hard. So we'll say we'll take a team away from North America and we'll bring in an Australian team, and then 2 Australian teams can give it a go, and then it starts to develop those regions. Africa gets a chance in the spotlight, Australia gets a chance, South America gets a chance.
I don't think it's that easy. I don't think it's that easy to add regions to this, because you are scaling up like both labor and investments and a lot of things. And also, I think certain regions just do not have enough competition. Like, how many African teams will be competing for the African spot? Yes, I think that's going to be quite one-sided.
Yeah.
So obviously, you still have to go through the process, because the idea is that it has to be open so that people can move their way up. I don't know about the whole like creating more slots thing though, because that may make sense in a sport like soccer, where the average career is significantly longer than an average esports career as a pro gamer.
Yeah.
Like I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what if some of this talent will never come back for that new spot,
Yeah.
Because it's over.
Sense.
It's over for them. The esports career is not long-lived career.
It's
by
getting
any
longer,
means.
though. It is getting longer. In fairness.
No, I mean naturally it will, but like that's when you increase the the total capacity of something, you also increase the leeway for what expectations and standards you have to have. So what I'm saying is that you don't have to force people to play at their peak if there is a professional esport with a gradient of skill, essentially, right? Like, for example, if Contenders was sustainable economically, and people could live within Contenders and earn like a profit as a professional, we would have already elongated the career length within Overwatch, right? Just by having that extra sort of like stepping board. Because if you couldn't maintain yourself in Overwatch League, you could maintain yourself in Contenders, right? The thing is, like, we haven't increased the capacity that much yet, so the careers are still quite short-lived. And also, let's be fair, most elites, they don't go back. Like, most athletic elite players in any sport will peak, and that will be that. They're done. They don't actually go back, even though they could go back. They could just take a step down the ladder and be like, I'm fine, I'm earning money here, and I'm still like doing what I like. But they stop, right? So
I wonder what Moth is doing.
Last time I checked, Valorant, right?
What?
Yeah, they all went to Valorant.
No, he didn't. He went like completely off the grid. Like, he didn't, because he didn't stream anyway. He didn't post on social media anywhere. So he just went missing for, like, I swear he went missing for a few years. And I just thought about that. Like, I was just some days I just think about that. I would just be like, imagine you were like back-to-back Overwatch League champion, and then you're just working in Tesco's. Beep, beep. Do you know what I mean? Like that would be such a step down. That thought does kind of weird me out of like the pro players, because it's not like football where you can make like a lifetime living. Like if you're a pro footballer at a top club for 10 years, then you've probably made your life's money there. Like you can, if you're clever with it, then maybe invest it or like buy a house or something. Don't do anything stupid with your money, and you'll probably get to live off that for the rest of your life. But then a pro Overwatch player probably doesn't make enough to do that.
I don't actually know where Muff went. I swear I heard somewhere that he went to Valorant, but I could be wrong.
Huh.
That may be like a rumor I have heard somewhere. But at any rate, yeah. So essentially, like I don't know. I don't think the region system that you're proposing, where like we kind of like just take a singular. I don't think it's not as easy, especially not for the first season, where you definitely just want to make sure stuff is running smoothly and easily, and we don't have any sort of like, we do not want hiccups in the first. See, there will be hiccups, just to be clear. There will be stuff that people will be outraged about on Twitter and on YouTube, and there will be a Stylosa video with a big angry thumbnail, with that one face he always does, right? It will happen, but we don't want. We want to limit those things for the pilot season, right? Especially as someone who really wants this format to be the thriving format within esports, really across anything you could imagine. Like for like here, it like could be the Mario Kart Racing World Championship format as well.
Hey! That's not that disrespectful. That is beyond disrespectful. Sorry, that's not that disgraceful of an esport. You could have thought of something funnier.
I will smoke you in Mario Kart. One me, bro.
You probably would. I'm not that good at it, but like you said that with a laugh.
I would smoke you.
You said that.
No. I meant like
the Farming Simulator League is something that you should have went for, really.
Farmville Simulator.
No, Farming Simulator League.
Oh yeah, Farming Simulator.
That's a real thing.
Oh, I know. I'm aware.
Yeah.
Farming Simulator. Yeah, I've played that game. It's terribly boring. It's terribly
You're going to
boring.
anger such a niche community by saying something like that.
Oh no. Anyway.
What were we talking about? Yeah, that's true. First season probably off the table. What I would say though is, if there is like, and I'm not saying this will happen or I even believe that this will happen, but if there were to be some like North African team who were absolutely lighting up the European scene, and then they go to like the majors or the finals or whatever and start lighting up like North American and Asian teams, then probably is when you start considering maybe we give Africa its own region. So you do make a good point. If there's an African team that shows up and shows we're good enough and profitable enough for you guys to give us our own region just off our backs because people will tune in to watch that, then that's probably where we get to see like the additional region come into play. And then it does kind of fall onto the backs of the South American players and the Australian players' backs as well, to be like, we need to go in and show just how brilliant we are to maybe get a chance at earning our own region. And then it kind of, once they prove the skill level, once an African team, South American team or Australian team prove that they have the skill level there, then it becomes on the fans to start rooting for it and being like, you guys should add this extra region, like trying to pressure them basically into getting an additional region. But yeah,
perhaps I'm looking forward though to
100%
to seeing it, and then potentially also may participate either with a team of my own as a fun gig, or maybe coaching a team. I haven't really decided what to do yet. I did actually have an offer of a top open team coaching the other day. I did decline it though due to personal reasons. But I certainly think it's going to be a great way, also for coaches, to make a name. It's going to be a lot easier to climb your way up that ladder because it's completely granular. It's a complete gradient where you can go literally from starting to coach bronze teams. It's not going to happen, right? Let's be fair. That's not going to, because if you are in a team, you're not bronze because you've already gotten past that level of dedication. Or if you do create a bronze team, you're probably getting out of bronze fairly quickly. Here's the other thing. It can go anywhere from Diamond, Masters, GM, top 500. What would have been top Open Division? There's going to be some new terms. We have to create some new cutoffs of placements. What placements in the Champion Series? So it's going to be like top 60 champions, top 100 champions.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting. And you know what's going to happen?
Something new will happen. Yeah,
we know what's going to happen as well, don't we? It's going to be like you can be a top 5 champion, but then it's like, are you a top 5 European, Asian, or North American champion? Because let's be realistic, being top 5 teams in Europe or North America is not as impressive as top 5 Asian teams. If we're being completely real with ourselves right now, like. Asia is better. Asia is better. It's just a fact. Like, I think this is though 100%. This is 100%. The best step that we could be taking to level that.
I don't think Asia is as dominant as it used to be. I think especially America has been stepping up, and EU. I don't actually think that's true necessarily. Maybe it will prove true once we open the floodgates once more.
Well,
but
you do make an interesting point, because a lot of the championship teams have had non-Korean players on them.
I mean, I'm not doubting the Korean supremacy here. I'm not doubting that.
There was
I'm not doubting that, but
Rupel on Mayhem last season. Shock had, when they went 4-3 in the finals, or lost 4-3 in the finals to Dallas. They had quite a few American players actually. Mm-hmm. All of the American players looked really good. So yeah, you do make a good point. I mean, London obviously put on a really good show. They might have made it further had they not got unfortunate and ran into Boston 4 times in the space of like 3 weeks.
Would have also gotten further if they weren't a Reinhardt one-track team, but yeah,
potentially. They almost made it work. I'm a London sympathiser.
I mean, to be fair, what was the overall placement last time?
Last season was bad.
Like just in the league, what was the overall placement? What place did they get in the league last time?
In the league or in the tournament? You mean the league, don't you?
In the league.
It might have been like 12th.
12? Okay. It's not too bad.
No, it's not awful.
What about the tournament?
6th? Something like that. Yeah, something like that.
That's respectable. Okay. Yeah. No, but I mean, definitely going to be I mean, one thing I know, like one thing I can sort of like share just as a slight insight for someone who's been working with people and with teams in Open Division is that it's a commonly known fact that your Open Division rank in EU will be a lot better than its counterpart in NA. Like if you are top 16 like NA, you would easily be like top 5 EU in the Open Division placements.
What? NA's better than EU?
No, EU is better.
No,
so if you No, I didn't. I said if you were top 16 in Oh, right, I did actually. I'm stupid. I am actually stupid. Caught on cam.
Yep.
If you're top 16 in EU, you'd easily be top 5 in NA as a team. Open Division, strictly speaking, Open Division. We're not talking contenders. We're not because then the conversation becomes a whole different can of worms. I'm not talking Overwatch League, just for the teams competing for Tier 3. I know for a fact that EU is a much tougher scene than NA is. Just leaving that be. But that's the entry level, right?
I mean, there's a lot more people in EU, in fairness. Is always a big factor, I'd argue. Actually, is there? In all of Europe, there's probably more people than...
I mean, yes. Have to remember that Russia does also fall in under the EU.
Yeah,
so...
that's the thing that I was thinking. I was like, without Russia, does it? I don't know, but probably.
I mean, so how many people is like? There's definitely more in EU. That's definitely more in EU. But like, how many is there in America? Because I think like in EU, it's probably like 500 million, like at most.
How many people in America? 331 million as of 2021. $746 million in Europe.
Yeah, but that's with Russia, right?
Excluding Russia.
People in EU, you can just say the European Union, right? 450 million. 450 million. So there's 200 million in Russia. I can believe that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyway.
That's still more. That is still more.
Yeah. By not much, but yeah.
But it is more. Yeah. Not wrong.
So it is a bigger region, which obviously will always mean that there's more potential talent.
We are also just better. Sorts of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I want to let everyone in on a secret. This is going on a tangent. So I've coached a couple of American teams, right? So for me, American scrims happen from 2 to 4 in the morning on average, because most people in the NA regions they scrim EST, and EST is roughly 6 hours behind me. So for me, 2 in the morning will be 8 for them, right? Okay, that was confusing, but so I've coached a few of the teams, and I'll just let you in on a secret, having coached in an organization that is mostly American, and on teams that are mostly like American. As a European, you get bullied a lot. Like, the bully levels are ridiculous. It's not even funny. So yeah, just wanted to clarify that. That's a little fun thing. Another thing I can tell that's a bit funny is that the tier system in America is devised differently on console and on non-console.
Yeah.
So essentially, like, I don't know how many people will know this. It's a very niche thing, but like, there's a tier system on console in Europe, which is, it's so bad I've never even bothered.
It's opposite. Like, so it's tier 1 is.
It's the worst.
I played in it. I played in it. Yeah. So tier 1's the worst. Tier 2 is like, because they don't count. We don't count bronze or silver in the tier system, by the way. We completely ignore that. So it's tier 1 is like gold. Tier 2 is plat. Tier 3 is diamond and masters. So it's kind of like a split, like low plat to high plat to low diamond sort of thing. So tier 3 was like high diamond, low masters. Tier 4 was high masters, low GM. Tier 5 was GM to low top 500, and then tier 6 was like top 500, like the top of top 500. Roughly,
yeah,
was how it looked.
So obviously, across the board, the system for PC is just that there's tier 3, which is top 16 open division, tier 2 is contenders, and then there's tier 1, which is Overwatch League, right? That's it. There is a sort of like loose concept of tier 4, which is like people and teams just sort of scraping that top 16, but not really being able to help themselves within the top 16. So like, you know, we're bordering that area, right? Called tier 4. So that is just the system. But so I knew of the console one, and I spoke with an NA team about it. And the NA console tier system is different. Yet again. So it's like, I was so confused. That's a little bit of a fun fact. Another fun fact is in NA, they don't really say EU host when the hosting is going wrong of a scrim lobby. They just say scuffed.
Yeah?
Yeah. I asked them. So in Europe, whenever the scrim host is like doing something a little bit monka,
NA
a little bit
host.
scuffed. NA host. We always say NA host.
You're NA host.
You're an NA host. You're doing this so scuffed.
I thought
Wait.
NA isn't like not applicable. Like, I thought that's why people said. I didn't realize it was because North America.
Oh yeah. So it actually stems from League of Legends, where like people would, whenever someone would waste their ultimate skill or whatever it's called in League, they would say that was an NA ult right there.
No
Because
way.
North America was like
So
known
bad.
for being so bad in League. There's actually videos about this on YouTube where you can search up like the history of NA in League, with like how atrociously bad NA has just been in League esports history. So they would like waste a lot of ultimates and whatnot in championships and whatnot, and it became the saying NA ult whenever you wasted it. So that's where it comes from, or stems from. So NA host or NA anything is just North American, because North America is bad at esports essentially.
That's actually crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. A little bit of trivia. They don't say EU host though, which immediately made me feel slightly bad. But then I realized I was vigorously bullied on the daily, and you're exactly right. No, we don't sympathize. It's just the way it is.
Well, I don't sympathize because every time I meet an American person, like, oh my god, are you British? And then they try and do like an awful British impression, and it like.
Oi, mate, you're British?
No, I don't. You know, when they try and act like a chav, that one's really funny. When they're like, it's always like the
When they go, what one stool, mate?
No, that one's funny. That when they try and be a chav, it's when they try and do posh British, like tea and crumpets, and it's like, I don't talk like that. Okay, I don't talk like that. I do like tea and crumpets, but that doesn't mean.
Can I have a bottle of water, please?
That doesn't mean. And you can't make fun of my accent either, because we made the language, okay? So let's just get this one straight. You're speaking our language, thank you. We know how to talk it, not you.
Just to be clear, you stole that language by combining most of the Northern European, Germanic languages.
I'm aware of this.
You just took a little bit from there, a little bit from there. It's a little bit like the British National Museum, to be honest.
Yeah. The Kings. That greatest heist of all time. We didn't even hide the stuff that we stole. We just put it in museums and then labeled it with a little plaque to let you know that we just took your stuff.
Did you know that Gibraltar, the mountain Gibraltar, is still owned by England?
Yeah, I did know that.
By England. It's I didn't know this, but I was told by my sister when she went there the first time, you get an SMS when you go to Gibraltar that you've crossed into the
British
border
territory.
of England.
No
yeah,
way.
you get an SMS specifically. So you obviously always, for anyone who's ever traveled, is you get an SMS whenever you cross the border on your phone, just letting you know that you've crossed the border into another country, and certain things may be applicable, right, within your like phone subscription and all that, right? But you get one in Spain, so you obviously get one for entering into Spain, but you also get one when you go on Gibraltar.
Yeah, when you leave Spain and go into Gibraltar. That's crazy.
It's owned by the English. It's crazy.
I mean, I should have known that, because you probably get one when you go into the Falklands then as well. If they've even got signal out in the Falklands. I don't know if do they? They probably do.
No idea. I can't testify on that one. I can't testify on that one. Speaking of Gibraltar, so technically speaking, since there is a map called Watchpoint Gibraltar in Overwatch,
there's two British maps.
You have two British maps.
Come on, boys. Come on.
You have two British maps.
Two British maps.
Because some people might go and say that's Spain, but it's not.
It's not. No, it's not.
It's not. It's not Spain.
Well, a third of the entire world is part of the Commonwealth, so everybody else can go suck it, I think, is probably how I'll phrase that. Sucks to suck, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, the funny thing is there actually was something called the Commonwealth at one point, right? But
no, it's still the Commonwealth.
No, but I mean that not exactly. There was actually like an empire called the Commonwealth, like a physical manifestation of it, but it doesn't really exist. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's kind of still a thing, kind of.
The thing
I
is,
just
those countries
yeah.
are still obligated. If we go to war, those we can make the obligation that the countries part of the Commonwealth have to go to war with us as well. So like if we go to war, we can say Canada and Australia and everywhere in Africa that we own. I'm not going to name them all, and Gibraltar and the Falklands. Don't know what you guys are adding, but you're there. We'll give them a medal for turning up. You know, we could just be like, we're going to war, boys. Let's go have some fun, and we'd have like that third of the entire, like in terms of land area, a third of the world fighting with us.
A lot of that land is completely empty, just to
Yeah,
be
I
clear.
was about to say
yeah,
most of Australia is empty and most of Canada is empty, but
you own the
still cool.
outbacks. GG, guys. GG.
Yeah.
You own the out.
We
you
own the
outbacks.
home of the kangaroos, mate. So I don't know what you're talking
I
about.
would. I wouldn't mess with a kangaroo. Those things are scarily big.
I would beat up a kangaroo in a fight, I reckon.
That is the typical online guy statement, and it's always like just when you actually look at the maths of like how strong a kangaroo is and how fast it is.
I'm aware.
It's like there is no chance.
The thing is that you watch videos of like crazy Aussies all the time. It's like it's trying to like drown a dog, and you're like, because they don't even know it's coming. Because they're so hard. They're like, nobody's gonna mess with me, and then they hit him with just like a jab, and then the kangaroo will just be like, oh, like he'll just stand there with that look on its face, like, oh.
Well, it's like
Someone just hit me.
This is a total sidestep, by the way. We're not even in the world of Overwatch anymore. But
Don't need to be.
that doesn't need to be. To be fair, it is a podcast. You can do whatever you want. But I think it's like KSI and like all of his friends. He has been vigorous about the fact that he would win a fight with a bear.
No,
Or like a horse,
I'm not.
right?
Even I'm not that delusional.
And he's kudos to the guy. Like he's had incredible improvement within like his boxing career, and like he has great achievements under his belt, right? But every single one of his friends have been saying, "Man, you don't understand. You have not understood the size of a bear or a horse, even, and the muscles on it, and the instinct of an animal. Like the reaction time of most animals, far quicker than any human can ever reach, right? Like just the sheer like power of even just a horse kick. Like I just want to be clear here. Like
oh yeah, it can shatter your ribcage immediately.
Look up how many people have stood behind a horse, been kicked in the face, and died. That number is incredible. It's just an instant lights out. You're dead. Like you're actually dead. That's how incredibly strong these animals are.
Yeah.
And how incredibly sort of like just the sure sort of like impulse reaction time, the instinct to just go for it. You have to remember there is no hesitation in an animal. Like it does not care about you at all. Not one bit, right?
Yeah.
So I always find it so funny when people say this. There's probably like, just to be clear, there is obviously groups of animals that you could fight and win, and like there are probably some people that could actually like meddle with certain quite high up animals. But just to be clear, you're not that guy.
Let me just explain my stance on why I think I could beat a kangaroo in a fight. I don't think if a kangaroo was down to have a scrap and it was like just trading blows, I don't think I'm winning that one. But
I mean, I do have an AR-15, so
my point is hand to hand. Well, they don't really have hands, but you know what I mean, hand to claw. Okay. I think it's a hoof.
You don't have claws.
I thought they had nails. Anyway, this is completely.
What do you think a hoof is? A hoof is made of nail.
Yeah, but they have fingers as well. I thought. For grabbing, they can grab stuff.
Does kangaroos have claws? They often lean back on their sturdy tail and box each other with their strong. The kangaroos can also bite and wield sharp claws. You're not wrong.
See, I know my stuff.
They may do in battle with an enemy like a dingo.
Yeah. Anyway, like I was saying, you see those videos of the crazy Aussies, and they'll just like hit a kangaroo with a jab, and they'll just be so stunned that they've been hit that they just won't even bother anymore. That is the only scenario where I think I'm winning. I don't think I would win a straight brawl with a kangaroo, because I'm aware that they will lean back on their tails, grab your head and clinch you, and then kick you in the chest with their legs, and it will just shatter your entire ribcage, and you'll die immediately. Well, not immediately, very slowly and painfully, I assume. But I think I could probably land a punch on a kangaroo, and if it was stand enough to just not care anymore, then yeah, that is my piece. I don't think I could beat a bear in a fight though.
I think the only chance you have is it not realizing that you're hostile and you landing a very, very good hit in the face. Good enough to knock it out.
I think
if you hit it in the face and it lifts, you are screwed.
I think
like if you hit it in the face and it doesn't get knocked out or lifts or whatever, I think you are very screwed.
I could maybe take a black bear with a weapon.
With a weapon? I mean,
yeah, give me like a good knife or something. I'm not saying like I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna come out here and be like, give me a shotgun and I'll kill it. Obviously, you're gonna kill it. You got a shotgun, mate. But
give me my pickup truck and my good old shotty. I'll get rid of that bear.
I think seven times out of 10, I beat a black bear with like a big 6-inch blade.
Fair. That's fair. Okay.
Overwatch. Yeah, let's talk about Overwatch.
Overwatch.
This is a much more... Why did you send me a gif of Jeremy Clarkson? This is... Alright, serious face now. This is a serious topic. So, it's back to Overwatch Champion Series. I'm gonna let you talk about it, because as we discovered...
So, we've talked about the good. And we've talked about the bad in terms of Overwatch Champion Series. Let's talk about the ugly real quick. Let's just get the ugly out of the way, right? It's run by Faceit, which means that Faceit will be the tournament host and the platform for which you have to sign up, and it's essentially run through Faceit. Now, Faceit is owned by Saudi Arabia, as I'm sure most people who are interested in Overwatch content will know by now. So we will make short of this, but we will mention it nonetheless. It is run by Saudi Arabia. That means it is funded by NBS, which means that it's not, just really quickly to make that distinguishment. It is not run by a Saudi Arabian company that is impartial. It is directly from the royal family, from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, being funded by said government. Now, the reason why we should care about that, and I'll give you 2 videos after here that you can go and watch, which are great insights if you're completely unfamiliar. We'll link them. The reason you should care is that Saudi Arabia have some less than ideal, some questionable stances on human rights, and they have some questionable human rights laws, which are not exclusively limited to, but includes women being lesser than men. It includes any LGBT, personas being not allowed, to the point of imprisonment and execution. And it includes not being allowed to speak ill of the government. There are examples of people getting 45 plus years in prison for tweeting even stuff online about this. It also includes essentially execution and torture of immigrants near their borders, death by firing squad, and other cruel things, right? Not to go too far down that very dark rabbit hole, but obviously not super good. Spilo has some incredibly good takes on this. He has a whole video about why boycotting isn't necessarily going to do anything. His suggestion for everyone is to put your put your your money where your mouth is, and go donate to organizations that are trying to help these people and trying to have an impact on the situation in Saudi Arabia. So I'd recommend Spilo's video. And then 2 weeks ago, actually, not at all related to Overwatch in any way, shape, or form, Sideshow made a video about how Saudi Arabia is currently buying into esports quite heavily in order to have a sort of like front-facing public representation that where people will think of Saudi Arabia and they will think of like esports and like they'll think about soccer, they'll think about fighting sports, whatever it may be, and they will not think about, you know, certain executions of journalists in other countries, and they'll not think about genocides committed within their own country against certain groups and outspeak against the government, right? So it is essentially they are buying their reputation is what they're doing. I think the topic is way too. I don't think Motor is as filled in on the topic as I am, but I think there's a lot to talk about. Obviously, Motor does know about Saudi Arabian regime. Everyone does. Or not everyone does, but he does at least, and a lot of people do.
I'm not.
So I would go on.
I'm personally not in a position to be able to. I don't want to sit here in front of any sort of audience and be trying to educate people on what's happening because I'm not educated myself, so I'm in no place to be, you know, trying to give out information to you guys. You know, I think I'd encourage people to go do the research as I'm going to go do now, but you know, I was kind of aware, but I wouldn't want to stand here in front of everybody and be like, this is all fact, because I don't know enough, and I'll admit to that ignorance, but
I will say that is also the greatest thing you could suggest anyone to do is to go. There are sources on all of this. There are credible sources. There are lots of media coverage of it. There are lots of even within the small niche of esports. There are esports journalists covering the topics with far more insights and citations than I could ever provide on our podcast, which is mostly just about Overwatch, to be clear. Trying to keep it non-political.
Yeah.
But this isn't about politics. This is about this isn't about so-whateverism. This is about people being treated like garbage in the masses.
Yeah.
People being tortured and people being slaughtered unjustly, if you could ever deem such a thing just, but unjustly, yes. It is a voucher for people to go out and do their own research. Watch Spider's video, watch Sideshow's video. He doesn't even have anything to do with Overwatch anymore. Watch Sideshow's video.
They'll be linked.
Go and look up different organizations that deal with this matter. Go up and just do some googling. In general speaking, like googling around, you know, asking questions. Because the thing is if you do your own research, there is no way you can hide yourself from the truth. Because it's not a well-kept secret. No. It's not a secret. It is not a secret. There's plenty of information out there. If like every single person viewing this video goes out and do their research about this, I don't even think a single one of you could come to the conclusion with a rational mind that they're in their right of what they're doing.
No.
Yeah, I don't have too much else to say. Like that is just the only thing. I will certainly be making sure that within my nooks and crannies of the Overwatch community that going forward of this is a thing that is being publicized, right? This is something we will talk about. It's not something we're going to ignore.
No. I mean, the only thing, like I said, I don't want to be going around to talking about facts of what's happening or anything. The only thing that I will say is please don't go hate on individuals though. You know, I know we talk about in general. There is definitely a stigma in Saudi Arabia, which is harmful to people, treating people not very well, to say the least, to put it very tame.
It's
But
by and large the government's doing, not
yeah,
the people.
I'm not saying everybody there is perfect. I'm not saying everybody there is horrible. All I'm saying is please do not go give hate out to people who are from Saudi Arabia just for being from Saudi Arabia. Because I can say personally that I know people from Saudi Arabia who are not bad people, who do support the LGBTQ community, who are very much aware of the issues. They can't do anything. And they feel alienated by what's happening in their own country. They don't like what's happening in their own country. So please just don't go out and spread hate. Try your best to go spread love and be kind to everybody. And if you see people from Saudi Arabia saying horrible things, try to educate them rather than hate on them, because it will not fix anything. You can't fight hate with hate. So that is literally all I can put to this topic. In good conscience. So
Yep. It is fault of the government, not fault of the people.
Okay. All right. Anyway, with that said, next topic, and a really fun topic. It feels really weird transitioning from this. But balance changes, or sorry, not balance changes, changes that me and Mick would like to see going into the newest season of Overwatch, into season 9. So top 3 changes from each of it. So
do you wanna just go through your 3 changes first and
one at a
sort of
time.
like
One at a time.
No, I want to hear all of your changes. Like obviously you start with explaining one, but I want to hear them all collectively, sequentially, right? So I can get the picture, and everyone listening and watching.
They aren't all related to each other. They are all very much individual changes towards the game.
I have put much more thought into this than you have now. Okay. Okay. It's fine. I still want it, because my 3 ones will not make sense unless we take them sort of like together. I feel like, or they will make sense, but I feel like there's context.
Yeah.
So take your 3 first ones first, and then I can maybe bounce off a little bit on that. But I just kind of want to hear, what does Motor think the game needs?
Okay. Motor thinks this is we're going most tame to least tame. None of them are that crazy though, in fairness. Bring back experimental. That is the first one. We've talked about this on this topic on this podcast before, so I don't want to go too much into this. If you haven't seen it, go watch all of our podcast episodes and find that, and then you can understand.
It's in there, in among the like 8 hours of footage.
There's 8 hours of podcast that you guys just go watch it. You'll enjoy it. It's all right.
I don't actually think it's quite 8 hours, but we'll call it 8. We'll call it 8.
Yeah.
It's a little less.
Experimental was a brilliant addition to the game, and then they got rid of it for some reason. I don't actually know why. It was a great way of them testing everything and seeing what the community thought. You know, there's so much potential to it, and then they've just kind of scrapped it. I don't think we need to talk about this very much, like I just said. I think we both agree. Bringing back experimental is actually a brilliant idea, and it could very much save the game from reaching a point of like GOATS meta again, where we have 2 years of one meta. So
I agree.
And
Experimental is a good idea.
it allows the devs to kind of do wacky changes in experimental, like going really heavy and then being like, we can dial this back, but we can still implement a lot. Which, like I always say, I think big changes sometimes are better. Not always, but I'm a big fan of like every now and again, you know, every season or every other season, do something big to give each season an identity. Okay.
I think that's important. Yeah. Yep. Agree.
This one is a balance change. I've been, as Mick would say, I've been in an echo chamber, screaming in an echo chamber. So I'm just going to bring it up again because I always like bringing it up. Rhine changes. So this is maybe a little bit of a cheat, but this is how I would like to see Rhine get changed for the new upcoming season. To kind of change, not his playstyle fully, but to maybe change him around a little bit. So I would like to have some changes done to pin first and foremost. I would like pin to go to a 6-second cooldown. However, it would only deal 120 damage. How much damage does a swing do?
Like 90.
Okay,
I
so
don't know.
it'd still be close to a one shot. That's what I wanted.
I can look it up
Yeah.
quick. The thing is, like I always tell people, is like, because people ask me why don't you know the numbers? Like I don't know the numbers. I know the breakpoints basically. I know how many swings it will take.
Yeah.
I don't know the number exactly. 85, according
85.
to Vicky and
So 120 is
85.
perfect. It means that you don't just get pinned. If you get hit by pin as a squishy, that you're immediately dead. You get that chance to react. Obviously, you've only got until he lands that second swing, until he lands that first swing. But if you're an Ana and you land to sleep, that means that, you know. And then, okay, so it's gonna be a little bit scuffed for people watching this podcast. What just happened was my PC turned off. Thankfully, I am an absolute legend, and I was recording in MKV. Thank the Lord. I was recording in MKV, which means that all footage was retained, I believe. I think I haven't actually checked that yet. But we're just gonna ignore that happened, and we're gonna carry on talking. Okay, cool. So Reinhardt changes. So swing does 85, pin would do 120. So you would no longer, as like an Ana or something, if you got hit by pin, be instant death. You get until he lands that second swing to either be saved by someone else, that first swing, sorry, to be saved by someone else, or save yourself. You know, if you get pinned as Ana, you know, alright, I'm not going to die immediately if I'm full HP. I'm not going to die immediately, so I've got the time to sleep him and then try and get away. But it makes Reinhardt's gameplay more dynamic and more fluid, having a 6-second pin. Because not only can you cancel the pin and you're more maneuverable being able to move side to side, now we've got a pin that is only 6 seconds long, completely controllable, does damage. This pin starts to make Reinhardt as a whole feel so much more dynamic and so much more fun. And I'm willing to say it might even help him in the help him deal with tanks. Like, you know, he struggled quite a bit getting bullied around by Orisa and Morga. I'm willing to even maybe say that probably helps him a little bit, because if he can get away from them more reliably is the word that I'm looking for. If he can get away from them more reliably, and you know, he can get onto a back line and then get back out, then that is a big boost for Ryan, and I think that'll be quite fun.
Okay.
And
Other changes to Ryan?
yeah, there was one other change that I had.
If you're proud to change, I'll just add my 2 notes on that.
Do you want me to do the other change, or do you want to give the notes first on the pen?
No, just give your last note.
Okay, I've spoke about this one as well. Fire Strike is the other change. So right now it does 100 impact damage. I would like to change that to 80 impact damage. If I was Blizzard, I'd be done. And then I want Fire Strike to deal burn damage, like a dynamite. So it would get a buff to be 40 burn damage over either... I don't know if 2 seconds is too long, because that's only 20 damage. But it is pretty good poke damage for a brawl hero. So... But I'd like it to be overall increased to 120, and then it gives him poke as well. Maybe you can keep it at 100 overall. I think having having the immediate 80 plus an additional 40. I don't think that's that big of a deal to give him an extra 20 damage on it, considering that 40 of it will be done in 2 seconds. I just think it gives him more poke in a poke-heavy meta.
Okay, so the two things that I wanted to say was, at least one, first of all, is like, obviously I disagree with buffing Reinhardt in any capacity, because we don't need to change Reinhardt, we just need to make sure that other things are not overshadowing him. The reason Reinhardt is bad is power creep. It's not that he is a bad character. In fact, I'd actually argue that Reinhardt is a pretty good benchmark for where heroes should be, especially where tanks should be.
No.
It's just other things are kind of overshadowing him currently, and power creep and whatnot. So that is definitely a thing. And the other thing I would say is that I think generally speaking, like more mobility is a good thing for the game.
Yeah.
I think especially Spylo has really sold me on the idea of mobility, because what heroes need is that they need skill expression and choice, and mobility can be used both aggressively to do damage and secure kills and force cooldowns, but it can also be used defensively to back out of sticky situations, to reposition, and to regroup more effectively, right? They can be used as both mobility. So it's both a defensive and an offensive cooldown.
Yeah.
So I think in general, more movement speed and movement abilities and whatnot is a good idea for certain characters. Which we could maybe look at a little bit. But I don't... First of all, buffing Fast Strike would be ludicrous. Like, that extra damage is insane. That stacks up quick.
Yeah.
Especially 20 extra damage. That is a lot more than... you said you don't think that matters? I think that matters a lot. I think that matters a lot. A lot more than should. Especially on squishies. Which, I mean, to be fair, that's kind of already what you kind of do with Fire Strikers, you know. And on squishies.
Yeah.
So those are just my two takes. I don't think we need to change Reinhardt. I think we need to change other heroes.
You know, the Fire Strike one, I think it was a cool concept, which is the only reason I wanted to put it in there. Because I was just like, I quite like the idea that it does tick damage. I don't disagree that 100 damage is perfectly fine. I think giving him burn tick damage would be cool. Probably not needed, because...
But the thing is, like, you're trying to make him a poke tank.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I was about
And
to say.
I think it's okay that Reinhardt is a brawl tank. I think that's okay. That's not the issue.
Say, yeah.
We shouldn't try to create him, like, force fit him into a meta. We should change the meta. We should look at the heroes that are predominant right now and overshadowing other heroes and change them. There's only one tank right now that I actually think needs changes in of itself, which is Wrecking Ball. All other tanks is a victim of power creep if they're not good right now. Is my opinion.
I wouldn't say the pin one. I mean, the pin one is definitely a buff. Let me not say something stupid, but I think it's one of those where maybe tweak the numbers so it's rather than 120, it's 100 damage. So then he still doesn't have a one shot because he needs to land 2 swings then, which is a lot of time to react. But like you said, I think giving him extra mobility would be really good. Like, really good.
I mean, just to be clear, I don't think we change Reinhardt at all. Like, my stance will be very clear. We do not compensate for tanks that are underperforming, and further issue the point of power creep, because eventually we'll just reach the point where DPS are completely irrelevant, because the power creep is at tanks and at supports, right? Whereas DPS is... Sounds great for the tank main. Okay, fair enough.
Let's nerf all the supports and buff all the tanks. Let's do it.
Oh yeah. No, but like, yeah, I don't think the answer is buffing Reinhardt. I think the answer is nerfing other characters, or reworking them, so to speak, potentially. All right.
And finally, and I'm not sure if this is a common opinion. I think this is actually going to be quite a disliked opinion. Bi-weekly hero bans. I want to bring them back. We used to get hero bans back during 2020. I think it was. We got hero bans. Sorry, having to disappear. I think it was 2020. We started getting hero bans per season. I think it was, or like every week or something. Those are two very big, very different measurements. But they did hero bans for a while because they weren't going to update the game anymore, but they wanted the meta to change still. So like, we're not going to try and balance the game. We're just going to ban certain heroes who are performing well. I think it was in accordance with the Overwatch League. Like they did the top 3 tank pick rates, and then they randomized and picked one of the tanks, and then banned that tank, and then they did 2 DPS and 1 support. I think that would be a fun little thing to do. I think it would definitely stop one-tricking to a certain amount as well, which I don't think one-tricking is like the worst thing to ever happen, but I also think that you should have 2 heroes in your hero pool, and I just think it's fun. I do in general. I just think that's a fun little thing to have. I know you're gonna hate it, but lay it down, Mick.
I don't think I hate it, but I don't think we're at a point where hero bans should be a thing now. The thing is what heroes get banned? Who decides this? Does the players decide?
So,
Okay, well, what about open profiles then, and sort of targeting bans? What if you main 3 heroes and 2 of them get banned? What if like certain heroes are always going to get banned for the same type of map? Is it Blizzard random banning?
No.
Okay,
Sorry, I should have
so
explained this.
where does the bans come from? So where does the bans come from?
Like I said, it came from, I think when the Overwatch League did it, it was in accordance with.
Yeah,
Overwatch
but I
League
don't care about how they
regulations.
did it. How they did it was
Listen,
random,
listen,
which was
listen.
not smart. What are you suggesting?
So the way that they did it was
not smart.
My time to talk. Okay, the way that they did it was they took the tanks with the top pick rates, or all the heroes with the top pick rates, and then they said, like, I'm not suggesting these exact numbers because now that there's more tanks and supports, maybe you could ban 2 of those. I don't know, probably not. But they'd say, these are the top 3 most picked tanks in ranked right now. We will randomize one of the 3, and whichever one it lands on, they're banned for 2 weeks. Because then it throws a spanner in the works of, these are the strongest tanks right now. So
no, it just throws a spanner for whoever plays those characters. That's what it does. Because the 2 other tanks will still be predominant in how good they are. So everyone who played those will just continue to play them, and the ones that utilize the 3rd one will just be screwed over for no reason. It's a terrible idea. Terrible idea. Okay. Terrible idea.
I didn't think you like
it. When the tank cast has more than 12 tanks, we can start talking. But there's 12 tanks in the tank cast, right? DPS bans. We're at the point where DPS bans might make sense, right? But we're not at the point where tank bans. The thing is every single time people suggest these ideas, they take it from MOBAs, and MOBAs have more characters. So it makes sense, right? A lot of the time, it makes sense because there will be options, right? Another reason why hero bans doesn't make sense is because in these games, in League, Dota, in Smite, in Heroes of the Storm, in MOBA games, you log in, you do drafting, you have a drafting period before the game where both teams take turns getting to decide what hero they play, right?
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, it kind of makes sense that you see that they're leaning into a brawl composition on the enemy team, and then you go, but I can ban Lucio. Because we probably realize that going with that composition, they want to pick Lucio. So the way it works is often there'll be like a first ban, and then there'll be a pick and a pick, a pick and a pick, and then there'll be a second ban, right? A chosen one. And that kind of makes sense for it, right? Because there's so many characters, there's so many compositions, there's so many things you can lean into in those games. And also, once the game starts, you're set. You cannot change anymore. The whole point of Overwatch is that you can change. A hero ban system, I'm sorry to say, I think there is a version of hero bans that could work in Overwatch, but I just don't see it being necessary. I think it's a terrible idea. Terrible idea.
I think there's this fun aspect. I'm not gonna lie. This isn't something that I'd be like advocating for all the time, but I think it's like it's a fun little thing that they could do, especially if it was like it'd been a little bit poo if Morga got banned immediately. But like I do think it could change things. Like when you get like a really dominant meta, and it just like everything gets changed up like that.
How many heroes are in Overwatch Motor?
To be fair, hold on. The other issue that I have, I'm going to take issue with my own thing here.
Okay. I still want you to answer my question though.
Is that hold on, I did have it in my head. Is that oh my god, I've lost it.
Okay, then you can answer my question real quick. How many heroes are in Overwatch?
39.
Okay. There is currently 167 champs in League of Legends.
No, there is not.
There is currently 167 picks to choose from in League, right?
Yeah.
We are not at the point in a 5v5 format taking up 10 potential characters. Obviously, there will usually be mirror picks, right? Which is another thing that isn't in all MOBAs. I don't think mirror picking is always a thing in MOBAs. I think it's if one team picks the thing, you can't pick it. We are not at the point where hero bans make sense. I'm sorry. The only thing hero bans would ever solve, ever, is if there's a very, very dominant pick in the meta that is a must pick. And that's not the issue. Oh, that is the issue. That's not the solve for that issue. The solve is to balance the game.
Yeah. That segues perfectly into what I was just thinking.
Go on.
Oh my god, no, I'm not forgetting it. We get enough balances. So the reason that they did that in 2020 was because they decided that there was going to be no more changes to the game. They said we're not going to balance the game anymore. We're going to focus on making Overwatch 2 instead. But now that we're at a point where the game is getting balanced every 30 days, if you did a bi-weekly ban, it would kind of time up weird. Like it would time up weird, and it would be a little bit unnecessary as well. So like you could get a change. It's like saying at the start of a season, because it'd obviously come out on a Tuesday as well, who's getting banned. So at the start of the season, we could see like we go from what we've got right now, which is like the Sig Ram meta, and then like Ramattra gets banned, but then Ramattra also got Giga nerfed anyway, so he was like completely not good enough to be able to run well. Like he wasn't near meta anyway, so then like it hasn't shaked the meta up at all. It's just kind of like it's done nothing essentially. So no, I wrote that down, and I didn't really, because I thought we were gonna like rush through it. You took like 15 minutes, and I was just like, I'm just happy with what I've put down. So
no, I mean, if you're gonna make a point out of it, make a point out of it, right? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, fair enough. Those are Motus' takes.
Yeah.
My three takes kind of tie together. In terms of changes that I'd like to see for Overwatch, right? So the first one is one we have talked about. So like I'm not going to change it too much from what my stance already is, really. is rework key abilities on tanks and supports, rather than buffing underpowered ones in order to keep power and CC creep down. Is my first one, right? So I think we need to take a look at key characters that are not numerically overperforming, because that is what Blizzard does, is they look at numbers. We need to take a look at a few of these characters that are overperforming and start asking ourselves, what key things are happening with these characters in current meta that is keeping them in there? What key abilities are just not fun to play against as well? Yes, fun, not necessarily strong, fun. Like, unfun game design is more important than necessarily balanced game design. If an ability feels sort of... Well, I mean, to be fair, they did, because Sombra is completely garbage right now. And if you're getting diffed by a Sombra, you are getting diffed in just game sense, basically. Just look, any character can just look at her and like zone her out completely now. None of the support like cast will actually be threatened by her if you have eyes in your face. So there's that. But yeah, essentially, like, just get rid of some of these things that are not fun to play against. We want to rework. So the reason I'm saying rework key abilities, right, is that we keep changing the numbers, and changing the numbers doesn't really do anything. It either leaves them in a state of this is still overpowered, or this is now completely useless. I will never ever pick this character again. We need to move away from that design philosophy. I've spoken about this in all the other podcasts as well. It's a very I'm passionate about this one, which is we need to change abilities from a how they work perspective, and not from a cooldown or from a actual sort of like damage or percentage standpoint, because it just does not address the issue. Like, it shuffles the issue around. You shuffle the deck of cards. You haven't removed the jokers. That's what you've done there, right? We need to remove the jokers. So that's the first one. CC creep. I said power and CC creep. We are getting back into CC creep. Power creep is happening. Power creep has been discussed quite a bit. Like a month ago, I said I think power creep is going to be the next big discussion in Overwatch. I think it has become the discussion now. So I was right in my prediction, which I'm obviously happy about. CC creep, I think I think CC creep is going to tie into that. I have mentioned that as well. It's like we will start hearing, especially tanks, talk about getting slept, hacked, booped, what I know, cage fighted, punched,
Rig bashed.
We are moving. We are not much CC power creep or CC creep away from that being an actual discussion. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not the new support and the new DPS character has any kind of crowd control. If they do, we are definitely in that discussion. Like, that discussion is just taking over, which I think it should, because they mentioned that they only think that support should have the majority of the crowd control in the game as a matter of like self-PL tool, and that certain tanks should have a little bit of crowd control and DPS should have none. And we've moved away from that time and time again. We've moved away from that philosophy, right? Okay, second point. I want them to create a reimagined version of experimental. So we both had the experimental, so we're both, but I want it to be a reimagined version because I think they can do better. I think experimental was a great idea. I think they can do better. I want an experimental mode with incentives for playing, so cosmetics or like battle pass XP or like maybe a player icon, or like maybe that could be like a experimentalist player title or something like that, player card. Something that drives people to play the game mode for like X amount of games. Like, say you do 10 games of experimental and you get that thing for that experimental card, right? And this will absolutely, like we've seen time and time again, people will do this even if they don't really care about the thing. They will do it just to get that, to get that thing. They will do it. Yeah. Now, I think the idea should be that when you've played those 10 things and you get set rewards, let's just say it's like played 10 games, and I don't care if you win or lose, it doesn't matter. Like, you're just supposed to play the game. You get a prompt where you get your reward, and on this prompt, there is a link you can click where you can write feedback.
Yes.
There will be on that prompt where you go, congratulations, you've completed your 10 games. You get this player icon now. There will be a survey feedback link where you'll be prompted with some questions. So, like, from a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you agree, how much do you disagree with these statements? Like, for example, let's say we made Cassidy's grenade like a frag grenade instead of a magnetic grenade, so it just explodes and do damage, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, how fair did you feel this ability was? On a scale of 1 to 10, how great does it feel to play with this ability? And then a little box where you can write some text for qualitative feedback, because the other things is just quantitative. Together with that feedback from the experimental and their own statistics, because they gather statistics on games, right? In terms of win rates and like damage per 10 and all of these things, they gather them together. These two things, because that's what Blizzard is missing. Blizzard only has the statistics. They don't have the nuance.
Yeah.
Get the nuance from the players, right? Combine the two and make an educated patch with what should go through and what shouldn't go through, right? Because the whole point of experimental is there will be changes that should not go through, right? You can't just let everything through. Okay. That's how we should approach balance changes. So we have a so the cycle would be this: we have a mid-season patch, then sometime before the new season, let's say maybe 2 weeks, experimental patch. New season changed based off of the experimental patch.
Yeah.
Then new season is live, and then 2 weeks before mid-season patch, we do the same thing, right? Experimental. And so on and so forth. So you'd get 2 per cycle.
I think we need to dial back mid-season patches if we do that, you know?
No, I don't think so. No.
You don't know what I mean by dial back, though.
Okay, go on.
I mean, I think the severity of the mid-season patches should be quite low. Because... Listen.
No.
Okay, alright. My opinion doesn't matter. Carry on, then.
No, it's just a terrible take. It's a terrible take. Go on. I'll explain why it's a terrible take.
We only get 30 days anyway. So doing 2 weeks, I don't think there's not enough time to settle. If we do get, and we rarely do, but if we do get a big mid-season patch, then we get 2 weeks. Things don't necessarily settle in 2 weeks completely, where we know where things are. It's close to that point, but then they need a certain amount of time as well to analyze. So we probably want 2 weeks of experimental, or a week.
No, because experimental. So I'll explain why that's a terrible take. It's a terrible take because none of the actual update schedules have been changed. We get changes the same times we've always gotten the changes, right? Experimental acts as a way, because Blizzard has a formula, an idea of what the patch should look like. Experimental is for them to test it out in a little bit more like extreme boundaries than what they otherwise would put live. And then they take experimental as a statistical and a feedback gauge, and they may dial back things or not dial back things that will then go live. So it's fine. That is what it should be. Like there is no reason for it to, because if you dial back the changes, you're just dialing back changes even further, and you've constantly been complaining that changes are too small when we only get a patch every new season and every mid-season, right? Patch. Yeah. You've said that these are too small. So if we dial it back even further, it makes no sense. No sense what you've just said there. It makes no sense at all to dial it back.
I just don't think.
The only thing that would be different is we have an extra layer of testing and an extra layer of feedback to quality ensure changes, so that we can maybe experiment with something that is a little bit more silly, a little bit more crazy than what we otherwise would have done, which is fine. 2 weeks is fine. It's okay. 2 weeks is fine. You will have people play experimental and say this is outrageous. This is perhaps not so outrageous. It will be okay.
The way that I see it is, if we get a mid-season or like at the start of a season, we get a few changes. People haven't really, like, you don't really know what the meta is yet, sort of thing. After 2 weeks, will probably have a grasp. We will have a grasp because we will, like, as soon
But the
as the patches
experimental
come out-
isn't the live game. The experimental isn't the live
You're
game.
not listening. So
I am.
So the season starts. 2 weeks in, we've maybe had a big change. You know, people like me and you, we will have, as soon as the patch notes came out, we started thinking, well, what could this mean for this era? What could this mean for the state of the game? How much is this going to affect the meta? Is this going to have a large scale impact across everything? You know, that's something that we immediately look at. But then, like, not everybody will look at it like that. I mean, even when you go to like diamond lobbies, people aren't looking at changes like that. They'll probably make some very basic things. I've heard diamond players saying that Bastion is a Morgan counter. But
what you don't understand is that Blizzard already do decide what the mid-season patch should be in this time frame. Blizzard has already decided it. So whether or not you get people to test it or not, it's what you're saying is so nonsensical.
How late into the thing would you say? 2 weeks? 2 weeks in?
2 weeks in, they're definitely starting to design like what should happen.
2 weeks in,
mid-season.
Experimental patch notes come out.
Yeah. So after 2 weeks of experimentals, we have mid-season. Absolutely. And the thing is, you're saying 2 weeks, like we can't really figure out the meta. No, we had solved the whole Morga patch 2 weeks in.
Because that was really obvious.
It will, most of the time, it will be settled after 2 weeks. It doesn't take that long. First week of experimentation, second week of solidifying. Like, that does happen. What you're saying is nonsensical.
I don't know. I think the turnaround might be a little bit tight. Because then
It has to be tight. It has to be tight because that's the issue, is that we keep doing nothing to the game for such long periods of time, while what we in reality we need constant iterative changes. And then sometimes, for example, when the new season drops, we need big changes, right? New hero, new map, massive change to X amount of things.
Yeah.
The only thing this would do is it would allow people to give a little bit of insight, which would allow Blizzard to change how drastic the middle patch could be, because now they have insights of whether or not like that is a ludicrous idea or that is a good idea. And then they will obviously base the patch off of what they would normally do. But now there's a chance that we get landing beat on enemies' heads will deal instant damage, kill them, right? Something like that, right? That's what it is. That's what it should be. Rework of Lamp, rework of Susu, changes like that. Like maybe we put out rework of Susu that they had planned on actually just going live with, and now the Kiriko players are like, okay, but like let's take a look at the statistics now from this experimental Blizzard. Let's be honest with ourselves. This is perhaps not too much of a nerf, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, does this feel good for both enemies and for Kiriko now? And that's the kind of feedback we're lacking. We're lacking that sort of like qualitative and quantitative, because they have the quantitative, like they have all the stats, and we just need to ask people what do they actually think, which would allow them to make more educated patches. 100%.
I'm not saying that I don't agree that this is 100% in the direction that we need to go. It's just I don't know about, because if
110% disagree with you here.
Experimental's live, yeah, it probably does. To be fair, you probably do get the turnaround, because if Experimental's live for a week, then they do, like with AI, you can probably analyze all the feedback that you get within a few days.
You don't even need AI. It already like automatically gets put into a big sheet. They can just grab whatever number they want.
No, I mean the quant. The
oh yeah, but AI, you could do like data analysis of qualitative research now with AI.
Yeah, exactly.
With like keyword like phrasing, essentially, you can
a week.
Yeah,
to
you
then
can do
make
like
the-
positive incentment.
Yeah.
What is it called? Positive incentment search, which is you get an AI to read through what everyone has said about something, and they group together like positive words and negative
Yeah.
words, and whatever key thing it is, like dynamite ash. And it gets like a perception score of how positive versus how negative this is, right?
Yeah.
So you can do that. You can do that with AI pretty quickly, and even without AI, I don't think it's an issue at all.
I just think by the time experimental is done, we're a week out from when the patch is. It probably does. You know what? I'll admit it. I think I was wrong. I think that is enough turnaround time, and I think that is very good. As soon as you started talking, I was like, as soon as you started talking about feedback, or like, yeah, as soon as you started talking, I was like, a feedback option at the end would actually be really clever. I was like, if we could just give that, if we could then ask people to give feedback, because you were talking about incentives. My first thought was before people get their incentives, they have to go fill out a form. So you play 10 games and then you fill out a form and then you get your icon or your name card or whatever you've paid for your spray. So you
I think
have
that's
to do the
a
form.
good system. I think that's a good system. Which ties into my last wish, because I have talked about wanting diversified metas a little bit more. My last thing is I don't think Blizzard should be so afraid to create maps that cater to a compositional archetype. So right now we have maps like, for example, Circuit that caters a lot to the Sigma Poke, Double Sniper, Havana, same thing.
Yeah.
We have maps that cater a lot to Brawl, like, for example, King's Row caters to Brawl. We have some maps that cater to like Divia, sort of like high ground contestant compositions, like maps with like Dorado, open high grounds is what I would say. Not necessarily closed high grounds, like on what do you call it, on Rialto. I mean, even to an extent there, but open high grounds certainly. I think it's not difficult to teach Blizzard that Brawl wants close quarters with lots of angles, like angular geometry. That Poke wants long sidelines with not any flank routes or any alternate options. And that Dive wants some mixture between the angular, but also quite a lot of high ground to good. And I think with the two first things that I mentioned, because the issue is right now is that it doesn't matter. You just play the meta comp, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like a couple of patches ago, is it a poke map? Is it a brawl map? Is it a dive map? Doesn't matter. You play Sigma, and then you play Bap, and you play Lucio, and then potentially you play Mei if there's like high ground to be rotated on. Symmetra, right? Maybe put in the Bastion on certain things, right? But it's like there is no things. Whereas like if we take the 2 steps 1 and steps 2 with like avoiding power creep and CC creep and reworking certain abilities, and take an experimental mode and like get some feedback on it, I think we can reach a point where we can just start actually catering maps. I wouldn't hate it. I would actually like think that would be pretty fun, because then what map you're playing will dictate the composition you're playing more. And I think it's good to have map archetypes that play well into other things, instead of these new maps where it's like Flashpoint is like that point suits this type of composition. So like on Junker Town, for example, like the pokier long range, so like sniper maps would be the 2 outside ones, and then the 2 or 3 inside ones on New Junk City, right? Then the inside ones cater a little bit more to like Brawl with like Queen, and then it's like the compositions ends up being whatever is like most favorable in that matchup, which I think is like, I think it's okay to like create map archetypes that are deliberately designed to suit a specific compositional archetype, right?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
And lean into that. Give us another really good brawl map. Give us another really good dive map. Then give us another really good poke map.
Why is King's Row so famous? It's because everybody, like, every time you loaded into that game, you're like, brawl time. We're playing Reinhardt. It's like if you saw one of your tanks wasn't picking Reinhardt, you're like, this is a toss. We should be playing Rein right now. What's going on? Like that was a nice, exciting thing. Every time as an off tank player, I always saw King's Round. I was like, well, it's Diva or it's Zarya. You know, like I'd see Havana and it's like it's Sigma. You know, I think that's true. I think that's a very based opinion. I think map archetypes would be good. I get what you're saying as well, where like we're maybe kind of in the middle ground of like, because you coach me, you know, it's like I very much struggle on certain points on Flashpoint and stuff, where it's like playing Junker Queen and I don't really know where to play because certain points are really not favourable for Brawl, whereas others really are favourable for Brawl, and it's kind of like there isn't really. You shouldn't be wanting or you shouldn't be encouraging players to swap depending on what point they're going to. It should just be like, this is just a Brawl map. Like there's so much cover and there's like so much close corners that this is just Brawl, and then like, you know, this map is just definitively poke, like Circuit Royale or Havana. So yeah, I think those would definitely make the game more fun. And we probably you make this point, you've made this point, I'm pretty sure on the podcast already. But first and foremost, it's fun, then it's balance, and I think that would probably do both. So yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you fully. What have you just sent me?
It's King's Row second. That's why everyone loved that map.
Oh. I should have.
It's why it's so brawl. It's why it's such a brawl heavy map.
I'll have to get this image up. I'll get this image up in post for everybody.
It is make paint masterpiece.
I was wondering why you went so quiet.
I do that sometimes when I feel like it.
Such cap. Anyway,
Wow! Oh wow! Yeah. Angular map. Should I? Yeah, I should. Yeah, we can go on. We can go on.
I think we're running out of time a little bit. Hardest scope of the week.
Hardest scope of the week, indeed.
Okay. Motor's hardest scope of the week. Let's go, boys.
I don't know why he thinks you've stolen this segment somehow.
I came up with it, so just let the record show I came up with it.
Not entirely true.
Okay.
We did.
Okay.
We were doing suggestions, and I suggested something very similar. But yeah, you definitely chipped in on it. That's for sure.
Go away, man. Solo queuing as support in metal ranks is the hardest thing in this game, as no matter what you do, if you had a bad team, you can't solo carry.
Okay, can I just say my first bidding to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I consistently sit mid diamond on support. I don't play the game. I never touch support. Every single time, like I sit in mid diamond on that thing. It is broken. If you're stuck in plat on support, you are just misunderstanding your role.
I think
I just want to make it very clear. Like on tank, which is the role I've played most, diamond. I peak diamond on DPS after grinding quite a lot. But I sit around plat on DPS. I don't sit around diamond on support. I just am diamond without turning my brain on. I don't have to think, and I'm diamond, right? Like mid diamond and even high diamond.
Yeah.
Your role is broken. It is so easy to get so much value out of that thing. And yes, you are obviously playing against your own role, which means that other people are like
also
mathematically other people also overpowered in your role, which means that on average you will actually be higher on support than you should be, because you'll get more out of your character just like anyone else in your role.
Yeah,
for less. So you will be higher on your character than you should be. So if you're in plat, your chances are you're your game sense is that of a gold. Depending on what support you play, of course, but...
I think it's really safe to say, just like a little tangent, that DPS is probably the least boosted role in the game.
Yeah, I would agree so. I think DPS is, generally speaking, the role where you have to do the most to climb. Yep.
Anyway, what my point was going to be is, I think this is that classic, and we talked about it last week as well. This is that classic fundamental misunderstanding of how your role gets value, because everybody sees support as the Overwatch 1 support, which was pocket tanks, keep tanks alive, tanks make all the space, tanks do everything, you know, or not everything, but tanks do all the fighting. Whereas now in Overwatch 2, there's 2 supports to 1 tank, which means that you guys can focus a little bit less on healing and more on outputting your own pressure and creating your own space. You know, Anna's nade is easily one of the most space creating and resource forcing abilities in the entire game. Like,
True.
Anna's nade forces out more resources than like a Sigma rock. So the amount of pressure that you can output and the amount of value that you can get out of a nade is unbelievably high. So potentially the reason that people are struggling, or this person in particular is struggling to get themselves out of the metal ranks playing support, is because they're focusing too much on the healing aspect.
I don't think it's that they're focusing too much on the healing aspect necessarily. I think it's the timing that they're getting wrong. Time and time again, when I see low ranked players, it is not that they're not doing damage. A lot of the time they will do damage. The issue is that the balance is off. You get these people who think, because they've heard ML7 vouch for the support, not healer archetype, which is, I still to this day think, has been the most damaging thing to lower ranks. Not the higher ranks, it's probably been quite helpful to the higher ranks, to be fair. But the lower ranks, the metal ranks, that is to this day the most damaging statement anyone has ever put out there, because people ignored the context and they didn't understand the assignment. So let me elaborate on that. You get these supports in Plat who deal damage. And they deal damage. And they deal damage. And they deal damage. And they just deal damage. And they don't keep up your tank. Like you get the Baptiste, who'll only like press shift every now and again, which benefits himself and the tank. Throw out a lamp, but other than that, it'll just do damage, right?
Yeah.
They have misunderstood the assignment. You are still supposed to primarily keep your tank and keep your DPS and your other support alive. You're supposed to keep them alive. Now, it is true that a lot of these people, off-angle pressure, will actually relieve your team of more pressure. So you're not necessarily looking to get kills, but you're looking to threaten kills. And you're looking to force cooldowns through pressure, which will then amount to less stuff coming your way. Or your tank's way, that for that matter, right? Which means that you can actually get away with healing your tank less if you do damage. And you'll force cooldowns in that scenario, and even sometimes you'll get that kill on the Tracer or get that kill on the Widow or whatever, which is fine. It's good. It's good. You should be doing that. It's just the fact that some of these people, they go in and they just do one. They just do one. Yeah. They either just DPS or they just heal. They don't understand that you need to, in any given fight, you need to do both. Right? You're supposed to do both. So what you end up with is these Annas and these Kirikos having done 3,000 healing and 3,000 damage. When in reality, after like a long, not one-sided game, your numbers should be looking something like 10,000 healing and 4,000 damage.
Yeah.
Right? That is what the numbers should look like.
Yeah.
Like you are still supposed to heal. Also, just if anything, on Baptiste and on Kiriko, the healing will farm your ultimate quicker, and your ultimate can be used aggressively. Aggressive window usage on an off angle, pressuring out individuals and forcing cooldown, and even getting kills. Amazing value. Amazing value. So no, like, support are not heal bots. But I guarantee you, if you're that one guy, gal, in plat, who is spouting out in the voice chat like an actual disabled individual that supports need to be doing damage when you've done 1.5k healing in 10, right? You need to be quiet. You are boosted, my friend. You are bad. You need to heal. Your tank needs to be able to be alive to force cooldowns. You not keeping him alive and doing pathetic amounts of damage to a tracer who will just recall or take a mega anyway is not winning you games, no. You've misunderstood the assignment.
Yeah. I don't think I can add anything more to that.
Supports are boosted. Except certain individuals. Lucio players probably not so boosted.
Zan.
Sen not so boosted.
Moira?
But definitely not boosted. Maybe if you're a metal rank, you can be boosted within the metal ranks. I think from there on, it's like it's a low rank stomper, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you reach the higher ends and like a top 500 Moira is certainly not boosted because they.
I thought you
They
just
had
said a
to-
top
to-
500
they-
any support is not boosted there.
There's definitely a few bab abusers. But yeah, no. Yeah. Support is not the hardest role to climb within plat. I
No.
guarantee you, like go find a VOD review of any support role. Spylo has actually recently made like a video about having like what is it, like 200 something VOD reviews in recent time, all for free on his second channel. Go and watch them. Go and watch them. I know I forget a lot for Spylo, but like honestly, just such a great guy. Lots of resources. Could also
100%.
buy a VOD review from me, or you could go and watch Motus' stream and buy one from him
Yeah.
with channel points. I guarantee you, support is actually so easy. It's so easy. You're doing it wrong, which makes it hard, but it's so easy.
I can't sit
I'm
here.
not mechanically gifted. You know this, Motor, right? I'm not mechanically gifted in any way, shape, or form. Like I have my pop off aim moments. It happens. We all have them. Consistently speaking, I cannot play. Like for example, I cannot play Widow for the life of me because you can't spam on that hero, so you can't leverage like positioning and angles to just like spam an angle, right? It's not possible.
Especially
You
in
have
the
to
low
actually take
elos
stuff.
because people don't respect you until you start hitting headshots in the low elos. So it's
Yeah,
like
so-
if you're a gold widow, like just threatening the sightline is not good enough. You actually have to kill the things that you're threatening.
My mechanics are not good. And it's not like I play the heroes that just require game sense. Like it's not like I just play Lucio and I play Brick and I play I play Kiri, I play Anna, I play Bap, right? Like I play the busted supports, play Ilari, which also requires some mechanics, right?
Yeah.
Supports are boosted.
I
Still.
can't sit here and be like it's so easy. You can just easy climb because my baseline is so low that I do
Yet
have
again,
to grind.
Yet again, we did play some games on Anna Brick just queuing together, and we won most of them.
While I was on 500 ping.
While he was on 500 ping. And I wasn't carrying per se, right? Just to be clear, he was on the Anna, I was on the Brick.
Yeah.
I just want to be clear. It's not like I carried the plat games for Motor or anything like that, right? Like, I'm just,
But
no, I wouldn't say so. I did what a Brick is supposed to do, is what I'll say. And we won convincingly a lot.
Yeah.
Until Motor Wi-Fi decided to not work anymore.
Yeah. My PC and setup is just like, I was going to say a walking pile of technical issues. It's a stationary pile of tech issues. Yeah. I think that's it, though. I think that's everything from us, really. Unless you got anything else you want to add.
don't be a support apologist. If you're a support, you're a rank higher than you should be, unless you're playing certain supports. If you're playing Bab, Ana, or Kiri, it definitely is the case. Your role is giga easy and mega overtuned, and I will look forward to the day where I can say balance on support is a good spot. If you're stuck in plat on support, it's not because it's hard to climb on support, it's because you have misunderstood the assignment.
Damn, I've misunderstood the assignment then. Anyway, thank you to everybody who watched, and we'll see you guys next week. Cheers.